The difference between science and pseudoscience, it matters to some of us more than others. This video is going to talk about that general question. It's going to talk about the specific example of meditation, scientism, pseudoscience in justifying and glorifying Buddhist meditation. And it's going to talk about the conflict between myself and one other vegan on YouTube who identifies herself as a skeptic. Look, I have actually read the philosophy of Sextus Empiricus. I'm someone whose life has been profoundly influenced by reading various ancient Greek and ancient Roman philosophers. Sextus Empiricus is one of them. I care about skepticism a lot. And my experience on the internet has been so unbelievably negative that I've stopped using the word skeptic and skepticism because I've seen how that word has been dragged through the mud and lost all its meaning on the internet today. And it's a goddamn shame. Skepticism is an important concept. Pseudoscience is an important concept. It's important that we really understand what science is, what it isn't, and why we distinguish these things.
À-bas-le-ciel.
The difference between science and pseudoscience matters, and it matters to me personally. And as it happens, I have a background in Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist history, Buddhist languages, studying the Pali Canon, etc. As it happens, I'm in a position to come on the internet and really warn people that the excuses being made for Buddhist meditation, the claims that it has some medical benefits, they are every bit as pseudoscientific as parallel claims that might be offered by Christians, Catholics, Protestants, etc., claiming that prayer has the same benefits, right? Now, I have the experience of saying this in forums on the internet, in forums that have the word skeptic in the title, skeptic discussion forum. And then all of these people who identify themselves as skeptics, who identify themselves as atheists, pile on to tell me what a piece of shit I am for daring to say that Buddhist meditation is not vindicated by the highest and finest court of scientific opinion. Okay, and it's not. Let's throw up some screenshots really quick from a Scientific American article. I can give you a link to this article. It's a short article. It's to the point. However, it is a softball article. I'm going to point out why it really doesn't come down hard enough on pseudoscience under the heading of Buddhist meditation. A new paper cites a 2015 review published in American Psychologist magazine reporting that only around 9% of research into mindfulness-based mindfulness-based interventions or meditation has been tested in clinical trials that included a control group. The authors also point to multiple large placebo-controlled meta-analyses concluding that mindfulness practices have often produced unimpressive results. Yes, a little bit of an understatement here. I believe I have read that meta-review, but you have to keep in mind what the goalposts are here. If you claim that prayer, Christian prayer, calms people down, you can prove that scientifically, but nobody's impressed. The question of unimpressive results matters, and it matters more profoundly than this mere turn of phrase would indicate. If you take people who are culturally Christian, or for whatever reason respect prayer as an action, and you use prayer as a method to calm them down, and you then use scientific or pseudoscientific measurements to show that they're all 10% calmer after prayer, does that prove that prayer is any more efficacious than taking them to the gym to work out, taking them swimming? Or is that it has more of a positive impact on their lives than just sitting in silence? Now, prayer may. I've seen studies that looked at elderly people, and you take these elderly people and take them out to sing in a choir or do other Christian activities, and has all kinds of positive effects on their health and well-being, their level of engagement, their level of cognitive function. These are elderly people for whom the social elements of religion, chit-chatting with other people at the church, singing at the church, or indeed praying at the church, can have scientifically measurable effects. Nevertheless, attributing health benefits to prayer is pseudoscience. The fact that you can measure something, the fact that something exists, the fact that there's a more than zero effect does not automatically put something in the category of science rather than pseudoscience. So this question of unimpressive results matters. 2014 review of 47 meditation trials collectively, including over 3,500 participants, found essentially no evidence for benefits relating to enhancing attention, curtailing substance abuse, aiding sleep, or controlling weight. Okay? The whole article at Scientific American is softballing. It's too easy on this. The title and the thesis should have been, there is no evidence for these benefits. This is pseudoscience. This is a huge industry, including an industry of peer-reviewed magazines, by the way. There are specialized peer-reviewed publications where everybody doing the peer review is deeply ideologically committed to the idea that transcendental meditation has positive benefits, or that pseudo-Buddhist mindfulness meditation has positive benefits. Peer review means nothing when the people sitting around the table doing the peer review are all religious maniacs. And yes, I've been a scholar of Buddhism. I've been through the peer review process within Buddhism. It ain't science. It's a goddamn joke. Anyway, there is no evidence. That was the second study here of 2014. The first one mentioned 2015 is not that there's no evidence. It's that the science is junk science. Maybe 9% of the scientific studies are not complete bullshit. And of those 9%, even then we've got problems, and they're finding very unimpressive results where we have to ask ourselves, is mindfulness-based intervention, mindfulness meditation, is it actually more effective than just sitting alone in a room, going to the gym, going to church, singing in the choir, prayer, etc.? We're getting down to measuring very, very small positive results of these people. Lead author of the report, Nicholas Van Dam, a clinical psychologist and research fellow in psychological sciences at the University of Melbourne, contends potential benefits of mindfulness are being overshadowed by hyperbole and oversold for financial gain. Do you think? Mindfulness meditation and training is now a $1.1 billion industry in the United States alone. Guys, let me spell this out for you. One of the most powerful ways to make money out of this kind of therapy is through the court system. As soon as you can get the prison system and the court system to believe that mindfulness meditation will help people be less aggressive, less likely to reoffend, it will help them assimilate into society, then you can start getting money out of the government. Then you can start compelling people to pay. Then you're really onto a kind of gravy train. So getting this pseudoscience made into a kind of surrogate psychotherapy that the taxpayers will back and the court system will back is very important. You can pause and read all the text if you want to. Click on the link below this video actually and read the whole article. It's pretty short, but as I say, it is a softball article. Next quotation. 2 trials published earlier this month in Science Advances magazine also support mindfulness practices. The first found mindfulness-like attention training reduces self-perceived stress, but not levels of the hormone cortisol, a commonly used biological gauge of stress levels. The other trial links mindfulness-like attention training, blah, blah, blah. Look, guys, self-perceived stress, this is also referred to as subjectively perceived stress. There are some other differences of the term here. How can you possibly claim that it is any more of a science to claim that meditation improves self-perceived stress as opposed to prayer? Exactly the same claim can be made for Christian prayer, and it would be equally as true. People who believe in prayer can calm themselves down, and in their subjective perception, they can feel less stressed out because they've prayed. People who believe in singing in the choir or other religious rituals. This is a religious ritual. Why do people do religious rituals? They do have some subjective effects on self-perceived stress, but interestingly, they do not actually, in this case, have an impact on your cortisol levels, which may indicate that this is only the perception of how stressed out you are and not how stressed out you already are. Guys, we've been through this in terms of science versus pseudoscience. It's much more difficult to pin down with something like massage. Massage makes people think they feel better, but it doesn't actually make them feel better. It doesn't actually cure their medical conditions. And as with what's stated here, most of the research I saw indicated that it doesn't actually even solve problems like stress, but it makes people think they're less stressed out. It makes them happier. So some medical doctors will recommend massage therapy, even though massage therapy is not scientifically vindicated. We're in a much more ideologically loaded, confusing, and difficult situation with Buddhist meditation worming its way into the scientific and medical establishment, and everyone in the so-called skeptic community bending over backwards to try to make excuses for this stuff and embrace it as science when it should be reviled as pseudoscience. I had a conflict with another YouTuber here that originated in this mess. I still to this day am hated and reviled by Unnatural Vegan, a so-called skeptic, because she saw me making catty remarks in a Facebook group of other so-called skeptics. So everybody in this group, it says skeptic at the top of the group. Everyone in the group supposedly a skeptic. Everyone in the group identifies as an atheist. But when I post my point of view as someone with more than 10 years experience in the field, someone who actually learned to read Pali, studied the Pali canon, someone who knows Buddhist dogma as well as Buddhist history, Buddhist philosophy, someone who really has a very robust, proven background and a couple of peer-reviewed articles, I have every reason to have a, deep-seated, strongly held view on Buddhist meditation. And all these people are jumping out of the corners of this Facebook group for skeptics to make excuses for transcendental meditation, for mindfulness-based meditation therapy, for these different gray area treatments. And Unnatural Vegan, a self-professed so-called skeptic, what does she do? She's on their side. She's on the side of the hippie flower children, which is who she really is, what she really believes. The reality is Unnatural Vegan calls herself a skeptic, but she's someone who, after completing her university degree in philosophy, believed in insane hippie pseudoscience, joined an all-raw vegan diet, and decided to refuse to use toothpaste because toothpaste was unnatural, and she basically lost all of her teeth. She got fillings in a whole bunch of her teeth. She destroyed her dental health because she believed in ludicrous pseudoscientific opinion. And she is another example of a person, which these Facebook groups are full of, and these Reddit groups are full of. I've seen it on Reddit, like Reddit/r Skepticism or whatever. These people who call themselves skeptics, but who will stand up and defend to the death this notion that the religious ritual of Buddhist meditation is scientifically valid as a treatment for conditions that in Buddhist doctrine we do not even claim it cures. The actual function of these Buddhist meditative practices includes hallucination, includes talking to the gods. Does that sound similar to prayer? Does that remind you of Christian prayer? That you see the gods, that you hear the gods, that you interact with the gods, that you literally go up to the heavens and can talk to Indra. Okay? It also includes a number of other very specific experiences referred to as the jhanas, the jhana of the formless sphere, the jhana of infinite form. There are a bunch of hard to translate altered states of mind you can get at through Buddhist meditation. Buddhist meditation has absolutely nothing to do with the pseudoscientific claims that have been attached to it. If there were scientific value of this kind in Buddhist meditation, it would, ipso facto, not be Buddhist meditation. But these are people who call themselves skeptics and nevertheless, completely dogmatically and completely anti-skeptically, want to stand up for and defend the modern myth that Buddhist meditation is a white, Western, secular medical practice, just as valid as or even more valid than anything done by psychotherapists, anything come up with by Sigmund Freud. Whether or not Sigmund Freud has any scientific validity is a topic for another video. But in my conflict with this other YouTuber, Unnatural Vegan, it's interesting because the source of the conflict was that she saw me getting pissed off in a skeptic discussion forum where I posted something in the skeptic discussion forum saying, hey, you know what? And again, I have more than 10 years of research in this field. I know a lot about Buddhism. I know a lot about Buddhist meditation, history, ancient texts, philosophy, et cetera, et cetera. I really do have a basis to say this. Saying, hey, you know what? Buddhist meditation is a sham. If you're looking at it in terms of these scientific claims about Buddhist meditation being some kind of medical, having some value in medical science, it is every bit as laughable as when Catholics claim that about prayer. All right? On a deep level, we have to recognize, what is meditation? Meditation is a religious ritual. But it's hilarious to me that I had a rift with Unnatural Vegan, and still to this day, because she and her little hippie heart couldn't stand to see me so cynically and so confidently standing up to hypocrite skeptics, phony-ass hypocrite skeptics, making an excuse for an Asian religion that they would never make for a European religion, making an excuse for an Asian religion they would never make for Catholicism or Protestantism, just because it's a little bit exotic, it's a little bit more distant, they feel like this can be defended as science, and it ain't, okay? Respecting a foreign religious tradition, foreign literary tradition, foreign philosophical tradition, means that you hold it to the same standards you'd hold your own tradition to, okay? The same way I'm willing to interrogate the value of the works of Aristotle or the value of the works of Plato or the value of the works of Shakespeare, I bring that same level of rigor to Buddhist philosophy. And in doing so, if I did any less, do you think I'd be doing them a favor? Do you think I'd be saying, oh, you people in ancient India, I can't hold you to the same level of rigor I hold ancient Greek? That's basically a racist attitude. That's basically a condescending attitude. Doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help the progress of the field, right? But it is just as crazy and just as ludicrous to claim that you have discovered a cure for depression that can be medically validated in the pages of Aristotle as it is to claim that you found a modern medical cure in the pages of the Pali Canon, the most ancient Buddhist scriptures, especially when you have divorced those meditative practices from their actual dogmatic, doctrinal, and philosophical function, when you've basically created a modern myth out of ancient Oriental bits and pieces, and then tried so hard to slap the name of science on top of it to cash in. Because as that article says, this is a $1.1 billion industry.
À-bas-le-ciel.